And hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Crystal Crusaders Side Stories. I'm your DM Brad, joined today by Thor, once again reprising his role as Alquil Redmoon as his adventures continue in the frozen north of the Icewind Dale. Before
Yeah.
we begin with today's session, we shall begin as we always begin before we begin the session, by beginning with a recap of what happened last time.
Yeah.
So, if you
Uh,
would please.
yes. So last time on these adventures, I we started off with having a fight with a big yeti outside of its cave. Having we had already dealt with the child yeti and the smaller yeti. Me uh, me as Alquil, and Hangar, where had been waiting, setting up camp outside of the, or like in the mouth of the cave and waiting for the big Yeti to come back. And he came back, and we fought him, and we killed him. It wasn't actually all that exciting. Uh, it uh, it went down pretty easily, which is good. It was a normal Yeti and not a big Yeti. Um, Anyway, after we had killed it, we secured the cave and made sure that our new friend, the halfling that we had saved, whose name I have written down here somewhere. I made sure to write it down this time. Perolu. Uh, that Perolu was okay, and we rested for the night. Gave her, I think it's a her some food. And then we started traveling up the mountains. The day afterwards, we decided to travel further up the mountain looking for the dwarf Belrock Flamebeard. Uh, Further up the mountain, we found a ruined campsite, like a half-buried campsite, where we found a tiefling corpse kind of just sitting in the snow. She was staring at a pile of snow with two blue, I think, blue boots just sticking out of them. It seems that the tiefling had just given up, and this was the us Asterix, the tiefling companion of Perlu, and Makingle, the Goliath. Um, After looking around, we had reached the summit of the mountain, and looking around, we didn't see any other signs other than the half-buried camp, but there was this crevice, which was like 20 feet wide, that we couldn't cross, or at least we couldn't like jump it safely. But Alquil, using his magical power of Misty Step, decided to Misty Step over the crevice, and then he went around to scout the other side of the mountain, whilst Hengar and the Halfling went back to the Yeti cave to wait for a reasonable amount of time. Traveling around the mountain, Alquil eventually came upon a wooden lodge hut. Uh, and a huge pile of like wooden trees, like frozen wooden trees. And Alquil quickly figured that this must be the place he needed to go in. And so he went and knocked on the door and was greeted by the door like smashing open and an angry dwarf almost attacking Alquil before he realized that Alquil was a human. Um, and this was Bilrook Flamebed, the whole reason I had been climbing the mountain. The dwarf wasn't really happy to have visitors. I mean, he understandably a hermit who had traveled to the top of the mountain to live by himself didn't really want neighbors. So he told me to piss off in not so kind words. Alquil, being determined not to go away, decided to camp out for himself. After going back to the Yeti cave and explained to Hengar what had happened, he decided to camp out outside this dwarf's house and trying to convince him to either come down from the mountain and help with the giant problem or teach Alquil how to deal with the giants. After about 6 days of pestering this dwarf, the dwarf finally got fed up with listening to Alquil, and so gave him a useless quest, presumably, in order to try and get rid of him. He told Alquil that there is a giant, like, sacred burial ground somewhere north of Kelvin's cairn, and that I should go there and dig up some giant treasure and bring it back to him. Alquil decided agreed to this as well. It was better than just pestering this dwarf, and so climbed down from Kelvin's cairn and was on the way to JJJ's Cair Cunning, because Hengar had said that he would wait at the closest place settlement, which would be Cair Cunning. So Alquil was on his way there to see if he could find Hengar, so the two could travel out to the wilderness for this giant sacred burial ground.
Yes, indeed. So, seeing as I believe you have actually spent your points of inspiration now, you can add it back on. Ooh.
Yay!
And yeah, so I think we basically sort of pick up. You are arriving on the outskirts of Ker Konig, you know,
Mm-hmm.
astride the Windstrider. And it's probably like pretty like later in the day. The sun has gone down. It's been quite a while. I mean, the sun goes down pretty early this time of year, so it's like dark. You're able to see due to your dark vision, but there's like a slight kind of like storm in the area, like wind blowing the snow around and whatnot. So visibility is a bit bad, but you can see that you're sort of like you're coming from the north, so you're kind of coming from past the ruins of the old kind of um, castle that was once here, the Care, after which it is named. Now just sort of like a ruined husk fallen to rubble. But you can see as you get closer, there's sort of the road into town, and you can see Cair Konig is sort of this. It's like a terraced town almost. So there's like kind of like layers of houses that start higher up, kind of nestled along the foothills of the cairn, and then it kind of like goes down towards the harbor at the bottom. And yeah, as you get a bit closer, you can see the streets are pretty much empty this time of night. Muddy and sort of covered in a layer of snow. There's not really a whole lot going on. There's a few people that seem to be sort of very tightly bundled up, shuffling between the snow battered houses, just sort of keeping their heads down, barely giving you a look. Obviously, they're just kind of like returning home for the night or whatever. And as you're sort of like walking into town, you see basically there's this pile of snow that you're passing by, and it kind of
Yeah.
begins to stir as like this figure suddenly like bursts out from underneath, and just starts looking around like in a complete craze, yelling, "Who goes there? Is it thieves? Have I found those creeping bastards?" And you see this figure, this scarfed figure, that sort of like pulls down the scarf, and what you see is this silver dragonborn holding what looks like an empty wine bottle out as if it's like a club, and he just sort of like
Uh,
is swinging it around wildly, like quite obviously, like his sort of like scaled face is a little bit like flushed, like quite obviously like drunk.
yeah. I'm just. I look at him. It's like, hail, well met, sir. I say, I'm Alquil Redmond.
Yeah, so the figure belches loudly as he like turns and faces you like right in your face, and he like kind of has this like like drunken grin on his face, and he says, "Pardon my manners, bit jittery with all the thieving going on. I'm Trovis, the speaker." He sort of drunkenly puts out a hand to shake yours.
Yeah. I take his hand, but also a bit like, the speaker. You say.
Yeah, he sort of nods. He says, "Yep, that's me. I've been patrolling, looking for thieves. You're not a thief, are you?"
I shake my head. No, no. It's just like you're having a teaming problem then. Says. Um, I'm from Tourmaline. I say. I'm a guide usually.
Yeah, if you're making like an insight check. I mean, it's hard because he's just drunk, so
Yeah,
like it's hard to get a read on him. He doesn't seem to be like lying or anything like that, but it's also hard to imagine, um,
yeah.
given like the speakers that you've met, that this guy would be the speaker of the town. But
Speaker. Yes, I was gonna say it's like, is he speaking? Is he serious? It's like, is this it?
and he says, yeah. So you ask him, he sort of takes this like deep breath, like obviously like just trying to like inhale and like suppress the hiccups that he's experiencing, and he says, I the town has had some thieves of late. No one's seen anything, but somebody stole the northern light, or was it the lantern in front of the northern light? Regardless of all that, there nobody's the owner's not letting me hear the end of it because haven't been able to find the ones responsible. Not yet, anyway. But I'll get them sooner or later. You just watch yourself, alright? I've got my eyes on you.
I nod. Says like, understood. Says I shall be. I shall keep an eye out for any thieves. Says if I should find one, I shall report them to you.
Yeah. And he just sort of like nods and he's like, this reminds me of my adventuring days when I was younger. And he like begins to like look like he's about to just go into this like drunken storytelling mode and just
Yeah.
like what do you do at this point?
Uh. Says like, I am terribly sorry. I have to. Says like, I have to cut this short. Say. But I do have business. You, as the speaker, you haven't seen a ragged man coming to town recently? Maybe 6 days ago, roughly.
Uh, he sort of kind of like again sort of like having trouble balancing, kind of like shakes his head back and forth, and like immediately kind of like grabs his head, regretting that. And he just sort of says, "No, but I've been patrolling the streets at night, so I haven't really seen the comings and goings during the day too much. But if you're looking for somebody, there's not really many places to go here."
I nod. I see.
He
Uh,
says, "Your friend, if he's here, is probably staying at the Northern Light. I would say look for the lantern, guide the way, but somebody stole it."
yes, so you told me. Says, I shall find this northern light. Thank you very much, speaker.
He sort of like nods, like patting you on the shoulder, quite heavily, before like
Yep.
aggressively charging off with his wine bottle. And he says, "Just you wait, you thieves! I'll get you yet." He sort of stumbles, and you see he trips and like falls into another snowbank, and then just starts like
And I,
snoring loudly.
okay, yeah. Wait, into the snowbank. Oh wait,
Yeah,
no, he's a dragonborn, right?
yeah,
He's
he's a
a
silver dragonborn. Like the cold doesn't really seem to bother him much at
yeah. The
all.
cold wouldn't bother him much. Okay, cool. I was thinking of using lay on hands on him, but if he's sleeping, that's fine. Uh, probably gonna. I'll use 5 points of lay on hands just to like cure disease on him while he's sleeping,
Sure.
and or like a poison or a disease, and then
Mm.
I'll move on.
All right. Yeah, so you make your way through the town. You probably haven't been here too often, but you've been here enough to kind of like know your way to kind of the eastern, like the northeastern part of town, where there is a an inn there, just an inn, and yeah, there's basically called the Northern Light, and sort of got its name from this magic lantern that hung in front of the door. But as you arrive, you can see that the hook is empty, as if the lantern has been stolen away. As you enter in, it's still early enough that like not everybody has gone to bed, right? The caretakers are still there, and yeah, as you enter in, You see a this sort of like lithe and charming, maybe like mid 30s woman who kind of like greets you as you enter. Uh, and you can see looking around that there's like a common room area. Nobody's in it right now, as far as you can see. It's just empty. There is a fire going in like a hearth in the other side, but there's nobody kind of just like hanging out in the common room. Yeah, so she greets you as you enter. It says,
Yeah.
"What can I do for you, traveler?"
It says, "My name is Alko Redman." It says, "I'm wondering if a ragged man, a Hengar, has been come through town recently."
She sort of thinks for a moment. Says, "Yeah, I do believe there's somebody by that name staying here at the moment. I think he's in his room right now."
It says, excellent. Was this early morning or was this late at evening, Brad?
It's in the evening.
It's in the evening. It
Yeah.
says, like, right. I says, well, if he's in his room, I shall not disturb him, but I will be needing a room for the night, I say.
And yeah, she sort of nods and says, "Well, we've plenty of vacancies. Just for the night." It says, "That'll be 5 silvers."
All right. I'll hand down the silvers.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I'll give her a gold.
Sure.
I'll just give her a gold. It says, just says, thank you, I'll say. If Rengar comes down, tell him that Alquil Redmoon is is here and wants to speak with him.
Yeah, she sort of nods and says, "I'll do that if I see him. You hungry? Need anything?"
Says, yeah, food would be nice.
And she sort of nods and says, "I'll have my older sister whip something up for you if you just want to wait in the common area."
Certainly, say, and I'll go and have a seat.
All right, yeah. So you sit down, and after 10-15 minutes or so, she kind of reemerges with a plate of, well, filling food. Doesn't necessarily look like the crazy appetizing
Yeah,
things that you've seen further south, but like as far as Icewind Dale is concerned, like it's decent.
yeah, yeah.
uh, and
I mean, no place like home.
yeah, exactly. Yes, she puts that out for you. I assume you sort of like quickly
Yes.
finish your meal, and yeah, she hands you like a key to a room upstairs.
Yep. And I'll head upstairs and sleep in for the night, provided I don't get disturbed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you head to sleep, and yeah, the night passes uneventfully. Yeah, so you wake up the next morning. Um, I assume sort of like putting on all your gear and whatnot in the morning, and then heading downstairs. Yeah, as you enter the common room area from the upstairs, you see there's um there's a figure sort of sat on a one of the chairs by the hearth, the fire sort of blazing in it, and yeah, you can see Hangar there. And as you're sort of like coming down the stairs in your armor, making like a bit of noise, he kind
Yeah.
of turns over, kind of like waves, and he says, "Ah, Alquil, it is good to see that you did not die up there on those slopes."
It's just, I nod as I walk over, like waving. Yes, Hangar. It says, um, no, I did not. I did not. The winter did not claim me. And he says, I was able to keep shelter in the Yeti cave for the most part when I wasn't out up bothering Bilrock. I say, I like to take a seat, next to him.
And he sort of chuckles and he says, "So, did you manage to convince the old curmudgeon to teach you what he knows?"
Yes and no, I suppose. He says, we made a deal. He says, after bothering him for appropriate amount of time, the Bilrock agreed to that. He told me that north of the cairn, out in the slopes, there is or out on the amongst the snowy fields, there should be an ancient burial ground for frost giants. Um, I don't know if you perhaps know of it, given
He sort
your.
of thinks for a moment and says, I believe that I have heard of the place. He says, though I have not visited it myself. They say that the spirits of ancient frost giants reside there.
Yes, it's from what Bilrock told me, it's an sacred place for the frost giants. But supposedly, he said, there is some sort of treasure there at the um, in the in their burial ground, like buried beneath. He told me that if I were to go to the sacred place, the sacred burial grounds, and dig up the treasure and bring it back up the cairn to him, he would teach me what he knew. Um, a test to prove that I have what it takes to not just die immediately from after having learned what I can from him.
He says, I see. Well, climbing a mountain is one thing, but plumbing the depths of ancient, giant, holy sites, oh, that's something else entirely. Just
Indeed.
yeah, so he sort of like stands up and he says, well, if you still need a hand, and he says, I've been getting some strange looks since I came here, and I think it would be best if I moved on.
I nod. I figured as much. Says, but and I would like a hand indeed. Says the from what well, if Bilrup believes this to be an appropriate test of skill for his knowledge, then I believe that there would be some danger involved. And so I thought I could use all the help I can get.
And yeah, he sort of nods and says, well, it would be my honor to help you with this. He says, besides, it is not every day that you get to uh, investigate such a site. Perhaps, even if we do not find this treasure, there might be something there that could assist with this giant problem that we've been having.
And nod. Indeed, could be some sort of knowledge, or maybe even a weapon. Who knows?
Sort of like chuckles and says, perhaps, although I would not expect to find a weapon that would be effective against giants in the Tomb of Giants.
Yes. No. That would be slightly weird. I imagine it would be giant-sized weapons, but who knows? Stranger things have been known to happen, or so I've learned recently.
Yeah, so he sort of nods and says, well, we've got the day ahead of us at least. If we know where we're going, then perhaps we had best head out as soon as possible.
Yes. Um, Windstrider and the sled should be outside. So yes, we should. It should be north of the cairn somewhere. I got a vague description.
Okay. Um. Yeah. So you basically take some time preparing and then head out
Yes.
with the sled and the Windstrider and begin to make your way sort of to the northwestern side of Kelvin's cairn. Let me see here. Probably you're looking at maybe like about a day's journey ahead of you. Um, Maybe like a little bit more than that to actually like search around for this thing because you don't know the exact location, right? So you kind of like you have a vague
Yeah.
idea, so you're probably gonna have to spend some time searching once you get in the area, but it'll be at least a day of traveling. So yeah, you begin to head out once more, kind of following along the base of this mountain and kind of going around. So, as you begin to head out, can you please give me a D8? Thank you.
8. 4.
All right. Uh, all right. So, can you roll for me 2d20s? Right, 11 and 7. Okay. Um, so as you're sort of traveling through the day, the storm has kind of calmed down somewhat. It's not really as fierce as it has been, and you can see a little bit better now in the distance. Um, you can see that um, as you're getting kind of like cresting over this sort of little spine, basically in the snowbanks, you notice up ahead, kind of like playing in the snow almost. This or you're not really sure if it's like playing or what. This large creature with sort of like uh, this huge like white furred body with like a mix of what look like almost like feathers like mixed into the fur, and you can see as you get like a little bit closer this very sort of like owl like face like mixed with a bear, and you realize that it is a like this snowy owl bear, sort of like a mix between an owl and a polar bear. Um,
Ooh.
and it seems to be sort of like in the snow. And now, as you're kind of like looking at it a little bit more, you see that it appears to sort of be like hunting. It looks like hungry. Um, right, you can see its form is a little bit emaciated. It doesn't seem as though it's been eating enough to sustain its bulk recently. But it doesn't seem to have like noticed you just yet. But um, you would know basically. Like they typically don't like prefer going after like humanoids as like a first like food source. They prefer like fish or like small animals and whatnot. But like if they're hungry enough, they will like attack humans.
Yeah. I'll point out to like I kind of like slow down, like point out to Hangar, the snow owlbear, if he hasn't seen it already.
Yeah, so
And
you and he sort of nods. This is a great beast, and he says looks as
says
though it's
yes.
hunting for something. Hmm.
If we can leave it be, then that's perhaps best, I say, and I'll try and like stare Windstrider, like telepathically tell Windstrider to like try and move around the owlbear,
Sure.
hopefully in a way that it won't notice us.
So you have to adjust your course somewhat to skirt around it. Take kind of like a roundabout route, kind of like around some of the mountain ridges and whatnot. It ends up adding like about like a mile total to your travel distance, but you can just skirt around it, having noticed it ahead of time. And so yeah, you don't quite get like all the way to your destination by the time night falls. Um, and this was pretty late in the evening encountering this. So you sort of go out of the way, end up not quite making it to where you thought you would, but eventually then the night falls, and it sort of comes time to set up your little rudimentary camp, kind of against the slopes. Make like a little dig out or igloo or something of the likes to just protect yourself from the elements.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, that night passes by relatively uneventfully as far as things go. You're not assaulted during the night or anything like that. Um, and yeah, you wake up the next morning and begin to head out. So you kind of spend a little bit of time, sort of in the morning. Like it takes like an hour basically to get to where you think the vague area of this area is going to be. And then I would like you to make a
Investigation or perception?
um, let's say because this is more of like a navigation kind of thing,
All
rather
right.
than like an investigation. So let's say it's like a survival check.
Okay.
All right.
17.
17. Can you roll, say a D4?
D4.
All right.
2.
So, um, the as you arrive in the area and begin to sort of spread out, looking for any signs of um, this structure that you're looking for, you spend a couple of hours searching over the area, kind of like uh, going along the paths and searching for signs. When up ahead of you, you see basically this large, sort of snow covered hill. And at first, it doesn't really strike you as anything particularly strange or interesting. But then you notice as you get a little bit closer that there are like at first you thought it was like a big sort of like storm cloud almost kind of like far off in the distance, but as you get closer you notice that there are what appears to be scores of black ravens gathered overhead above this hill. And as you get closer you notice that there are these like massive sort of like stone structures arranged on the top of the hill, sort of in like a circle.
Hmm. Okay. So this stones. Okay. Well, in that case, I shall start approaching that. Also, like looking around, like if Hangar, like if me and Hangar split up to search, or if we're still on the sled, I'll just. If we're still on the sled, I'm just gonna like start heading that way. Um,
Mm-hmm.
if we split up, I'll make sure to like notify Hangar.
I imagine you
Point.
didn't split up like too far, so he's
Yeah.
like within like shouting distance or whatever. So yeah, you call him over, and he sort of looks over, and yeah, you begin traveling towards it.
Yeah.
Right. So, as you get closer, you can see it's a rather like large hill, right? It's not like a little, it's like a huge like snow covered hill, and these stone structures. As you get closer and closer to them, you realize that they're not just like big like standing stones. They're actually like carved out, and you can see at least one of them sort of facing the direction that you're coming up with. Is this massive sort of throne that looks like it's been carved out of a single block of stone, sheeted over like in ice. And you see that there's like 7 of them in total as you're getting closer. That seem to form like this ring kind of around the top of the hill. And like I said, there are like just dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, of like ravens sort of circling overhead. Some of them like perched on the thrones, others just sort of like flitting about or like kind of like on the ground. But yeah, so there's 7 thrones. One of them, which is sort of like you're kind of coming up from the south,
Yeah.
so you can tell that the throne that is like on the southernmost part of this ring is
Hmm.
larger than the rest, and seems to be sort of pointed towards the north, whereas the others are sort of like pointed inwards, kind of at angles. All of them sort of like looking towards that main throne on the south. Um, and yeah,
Interesting.
you get closer. You notice basically as you get to within about 10 feet of these thrones, even you feel this like blast of like chill in the air. Um, you were able to shrug it off, being sort of like naturally resilient to the cold. But you see, as you get closer, like Hangar is like suddenly just starts like shivering like pretty heavily, uh,
Yeah.
and he's just like, "By the gods, I have never felt such frigid air. This place, something is strange."
Yeah. I say. This is definitely not normal. This is can feel the chill as well. Say. Um I says like, I believe we've reached the correct place, Hangar. But let's be on our guard. 'Cause something tells me that there, if even if there's not live giants around, spirits haunt this place.
So he sort of nods as you like kind of like step closer. And yeah, you can see you're now basically like on the edge of where all these like thrones are. And there's this big sort of like open circle at the top of the hill in between them all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what do you
All right, I approach.
All right, so you sort of like begin to step up towards like the center of the circle.
Yes,
Um,
as I'm doing it, I'm just gonna throw out one of these.
okay. Right. Yeah, so as you sort of cast your senses out, you don't register the presence of any sort of um, creatures, like celestial fiend or undead or anything of the likes.
Mm-hmm.
But you do detect something about this grounds that seems slightly off. Uh, like it's a similar feeling to like uh, consecration of like a temple or something of like of the likes, but it's different. It doesn't feel quite the same. But it has this sort of, but it's not like just desecrated either.
Yeah, it's not
Uh,
desecrated. It's a different kind of consecration, I guess.
yeah, it's just it's strange and different, but it still sort of like registers almost in that
Yeah.
respect. Um, like normally when you think consecration, you think just like this. It probably like registers almost as like this warm feeling, like this sort of like goodness or whatever. This just seems
Mm-hmm.
like cold and uncaring, but still like
Holy.
holy. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, this is definitely the place, I say, as we're like walking up the steps.
Yeah, so you make it kind of like to the middle of the hill, and you're now like standing in between all of these thrones, looking over them, and you can see that each of them has kind of like carved in script at the base what appears to be like giant scripture, like old like giant scripture back when they actually had their own written language, which you don't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily know entirely. Like you recognize bits and pieces that kind of like match up, but you're unable to like read it entirely. But you do note that all of the thrones basically have the like the phrase like Jarl basically like written on them, except for the one
Ah.
to the south that has the phrase like Jarl of Jarls.
Oh, that is interesting.
Um,
Um,
but yeah, like weather and like the age of the writing has like eroded away what the actual like names or whatever the other writing would have been.
yeah. Right. I say, like, looking at this hangar, this is a burial place for the frost giant jarls. That's the big one says Jarls of Jarls, but I can't read any of the names.
He sort of looks around and he says, "It certainly feels as cold as a burial ground, but I do not see anything here. Just these thrones."
Yes.
And yeah, you can hear the like, "Caw, caw," like the crows overhead. Just sort of some of them like perched on the thrones, just like looking at you, like cocking their head to the side, kind of like looking at you.
Hmm. So,
I think there's the obligatory one with like a single like glowing eye or whatever.
yes. Um, but I will. Well, it's either buried beneath here, or I shall just like I don't know if if any giants tend to make hidden tombs, but perhaps the jaws have to be buried somewhere. look up at the thrones. Um,
Here, I'll just drag you
let's. I'll start walking up towards like
so you can
the
kind of
large one. Oh,
see the area a bit.
oh
So yeah.
shit! It has a page. Oh shit! It has a page. It has a drawn
It has a
page.
page.
All right. So the southern one, that's the one over
Mhm.
here.
Yeah, facing towards the north.
Yeah. I shall walk up and I will investigate to make sure to try and see if there's any kind of hidden area. So like if there's anything that like maybe it would open to anything or anything that could point me like towards where the tomb would be, if there
Uh,
is one.
sure. Go ahead and make an investigation check.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna use my inspiration for it
Okay.
to do this at advantage. Yes.
All right. Good thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So as you're looking over this throne, sort of, you can see like even though they're relatively crude, like the construction on them seems like very sound. Like they've weathered centuries, if not millennia, here on this hilltop. And there's sort of like a reverence to their construction, right? Um, and as you're sort of like looking at this one here, and sort of like looking at some of the other ones, you could see that the like the pattern of the drifts of snow that have sort of blown up against them um, seems sort of like a little bit different, like on the southern one. And as you kind of like you like dig down like a little bit to try to look and see at the base if there's any signs of like a grave or anything like that, you
Hmm.
notice that this throne here, the southern one, the
Yeah.
stone of its foundation seems to like continue down past ground level, whereas like none of the other ones do. They just sort of end at the like the top of the hill. But this one, the stone it's constructed of seems to go further down into the ground.
Okay. Uh, right. That see. Yep. I'll say to Hangars is like the stone here. He says it goes further down into the snow and the ground. Say I don't think any of the um other thrones do that.
And he sort of comes over and takes a look. And he says, "That is certainly curious, but I do not think that we would be able to dig down to find where it goes. This ground is," and he sort of like kicks his foot against it to like make a point, like frozen solid.
True enough.
He says, "There must be something that we're missing here," and he kind of like begins to like think. He says, "I'm trying to remember back what I heard about this place, but it is difficult. I was but a boy at the time." And he sort
What's
of
good?
like thinks for a
At the
moment.
start of every combat, disadvantage. Start per person. Oh, I forgot about that one. Use the gavel to hard surface. Creature in 6 deals damage. 6 damage equals half. Proof.
And he sort of like thinks for a moment as you're kind of like looking over, and he just sort of says,
Yeah.
"The story I remember, it told of a congregation of Jarls that came to this place." He says, "I do not remember much about the story, but I remember that the man who came here did so and saw the ravens swarmed around a bright moon in the sky, full and bright."
Bright moon. Uh, I see. So during the full moon, perhaps. Um, do I know when the next full moon is gonna be?
Um, Make a nature check.
Oh yeah.
Wow, look at you. Yeah. So, since you sort of like arrived here, like judging by the amount of time has passed, it's hard to like see the like moon and the sun in the sky, given like the cloud cover and whatnot. But the few glimpses you've caught of it during your stay here would lead you to expect that the next sort of full moon, as it were, is probably you can't get it well with a natural 20. You can probably say that it's probably going to be like either like tomorrow or the day after.
Right. Um. Right. So I will just as this is like right. Well, the full moon should be well relatively soon, just a few days from now. I say to Hangar. Um, we should have enough rations to last until then. But if nothing else, I say. But let me just try something. I'll get up the gavel of the Ven rune,
Okay.
and I will hold it up and then slam it onto the ground. See if that magic might do something.
All right. So you take out the hammer. Um, I assume you're basically like using its one property.
Yeah, let's see.
You like strike a point, and then um, anybody that
Strike
like
a point on the hard surface the first time in the
yeah.
next minute, and any creature. Yeah, that one.
All right, yeah. So you do that, and as the hammer like slams in the ground, there's this visible sort of wave of like force that seems to emanate from it as the symbol kind of on the hammer like it glows, and you see this sort of like field kind of spreads out, and then there's like a shimmer in the air, but it doesn't seem to have any noticeable effect on like your surroundings or anything immediately. Um,
Yeah, I wait for like a few minutes. But if it doesn't have any effect, I'm like, right, that was the one thing I thought might work, but figured it was a long shot. It says it is perhaps best to I say perhaps best we check back during the full moon. I say.
Yeah, so he sort of nods and says, perhaps that is the case. Then we should set up camp nearby.
Yes, let's look for a good place to set up camp. Dig a pit. Mm, a little snow cave.
All right. So I imagine that you leave this sort of place, looking for a
Yeah.
suitable area nearby. You manage to find some place that's like good enough, really. You're
Hmm.
kind of like on a big like flat, snowy plain at this point in time. Um, kind of in this area, it's more like flat. But you find a decent enough place, like against like a big snowdrift or something like that, and yeah, you set up camp for the night. Uh, can you let me see here? Can you roll a d8 for me?
D8. 2.
Okay. Uh, and could you give me two d20s? Okay. So, yeah, as you are setting up the camp, you notice that once again, like a heavy storm kind of begins to pick up later in the day, as this heavy like blizzard kind of begins to set in, and yeah. So as you're setting up camp, basically towards the night, this big blizzard kind of like begins to come in, causing you to like hasten the progress of getting this shelter set up
Yeah.
someplace to like kind of rest away from the biting winds and snows. Um,
Yeah.
and I think as you're like finishing it, um, you feel basically like you're setting up camp is now like kind of the point where you're like beginning to head to sleep. Um, you begin to feel this sort of rumbling, almost like this steady like um somewhere like coming from like somewhere nearby. It's like shaking the whole ground.
Oh shit. Yeah, as I hear that, I like look around, like get alert. I says, "Do you feel that?"
Hangar is sort of like grabbing his weapon, and he says, "I do." And he's kind of like looking around. And but you can see like there's this like heavy sort of like wind and snow, making it very difficult to see. Um,
Yeah.
uh, which is a good thing and a bad thing. Um,
Yes. I says like sounds like a giant. I says it's a very familiar sound.
yeah, and as you're kind of like watching out, it the pace of the shaking kind of becomes more and more intense, and it's almost to the point where it becomes like constant, as if it's just like one after another, like this like constant rumbling shaking. Can you make a perception check with disadvantage
All right.
as you're looking out into the
7.
snow? A 7. So I think basically as you're kind of like stepping out, looking around, um, you don't really like see anything really in the heavy snows. You're just like barely standing outside of your little shelter, just trying to look for the source of this sound. And as you're kind of like doing so, can you make for me a dexterity save as suddenly this like large looming shadow kind of like emerges from behind you, out of the storm.
14.
14. Let me just see here. Oh, I don't think this is in. I think this is in the other thing. Yeah. One moment. I need to grab another thing.
Yep.
I thought it was going to be at the. I thought it was going to be in the back of this one, but it's not in the back of this one. It's in another one. It's in another one. So basically, what happens here is as you're taking a look out for the source of this rumbling noise, which has now just become like constant, like the ground is just shaking violently. You basically fail to notice out of the storm, and it similarly fails to notice you. This massive sort of woolly fur covered foot looms in like over you and basically like slams down basically right kind of where you're standing, and with a 14, that is not sufficient to duck out of the way in time. So you take or 10. You take 33 points of bludgeoning damage as you are like basically like crushed underneath the massive foot of a woolly mammoth that is like walking through the area. And there's just like pain and like shock. Hangar like shouts out, like running towards you to like pull you back. As he does so, you see this like herd of mammoths passing right by where you've made your shelter, just barely
Oh,
avoiding like crushing it.
Jesus. Uh, oh right. Woolly mammoths, not giants though. Uh, but they're huge, I take it.
They are, yeah, they're like these huge fur-covered elephant creatures with fur and
Alright.
long tusks.
I will just immediately use lay on hands on myself to heal back those 33 hit points I just lost. Because that's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, so you
uh,
like quickly he like pulls you back inside like the
yeah.
cover, and you basically like see they're like just like stepping over it, like just barely avoiding, like you're just like hoping and praying that they do not like step on your shelter because they will just completely destroy it if they do
Yep.
so. But this large herd of them basically like carries past in the blizzard, walking past your encampment without noticing your presence or anything like that. They just happen to be walking through the area, um, and yeah, they pass by. Eventually, there seems to be like a few dozen of them that pass by in this like large herd. Some with some smaller like children accompanying them, but mostly just the larger ones. And they kind of carry off into the blizzard and disappear out of sight relatively quickly. And the rumbling ceases.
Yeah. Okay. So as they're disappearing, I'll finally just like that was not what I expected. Yes.
And he just sort of like heaves like a heavy like sigh of relief, and he says, "Indeed, nor was I." He says, "To think that one of the mighty herds would be here. It is well, it is comforting, and also that was terrifying, because in a lot of ways they are far more dangerous than a stray giant."
Yes. Given their number and size, I can certainly see how that would be the case. Uh, what? Says what were those? I say.
I mean, you would know, right? Like
I would know.
you're
Okay.
from here, right? It's a creature that's
Yeah.
like native to here. They're
Okay. Okay.
mammoths. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
large elephant-like creatures that dwell in the
It's
frigid
not. It's
reaches.
not. It's not something that like it's rare for them to see them over here.
No, yeah, they're like a common enough creature. Like they're not like super common, like especially like
No.
closer to the actual like habited lands. They tend to be more like out in the outskirts, um,
Yeah.
and occasionally like from time to time, I think the most like terrifying thing like you've heard like rumors you've heard about them is that sometimes like frost giants will like ride them into battle. And that's like
Oh.
truly a terrifying scene, like this frost giant atop of this like mammoth beast.
Yeah. Yeah. I can imagine that would be um not very good. Yes. Well, I didn't see any giants at least. I say. And,
And he sort of
I hope
nods
that's
and he says, "Nor did I, though. I could not see much in the midst of this storm. It
true.
seems, for the time being, that they have moved on, however, and the danger is past. So, let us try to calm our heartbeats and get some rest."
Yes. All right. And yeah, we'll try and rest.
All right, yeah. So you settle down like cautiously now after this close encounter, but yeah, the rest of the night passes by um, uneventfully. You take a close eye. There's a heavy blizzard, so it's hard to tell. But later on in the night, as you're kind of like taking like one of your like little brief watches, you look
Mm.
up towards the sky, and basically you see like the moon, bright and nearly full, but not quite there. So you figure it'll probably be tomorrow night when the
All right.
moon reaches its fullest.
Yep. All right. Then we'll rest for the night, and the day after we'll try and Alquil will try and forage to see if he can find any food nearby.
Sure. Um, yeah. So I guess yeah. Make sure you've marked off your like I think it's been 2 days now. Um,
Yep. I've marked it off.
right. Yeah. So you wake the next day. Yeah. Go ahead and make a survival check. It's pretty like I'm actually gonna say make it with disadvantage just because of how like barren it is out where you are
Yeah.
currently.
19.
19. So I would say with a 19 in this area, um, you go out like foraging and you manage to like snare a few sort of like small like snow hares and the likes. Nothing like crazy, but you get enough basically to like feed you for the day. Um,
Yeah.
by the end of it, it takes a while. Like you spend all day basically like tracking and like snaring these rabbits and foraging. You manage to get some like loose berries, not much, but something to like complement it. And yeah, by the end of the day, you've kind of hunted. Can you roll? Yeah, can you roll another d8 for me, basically, as you're out hunting. Okay. And then if I could
2d20?
get 2d20, yes, it's almost like no. Okay. So I think as you're out hunting, you're ranging a little bit more kind of away from where the giant mammoth herd kind of went off to, just to
Yeah.
avoid provoking them. Just to go to like the northeast, kind of like sticking close to the shadow of the mountain. A lot of creatures like to like hang out around there. You figure it's like the best
Yeah.
place to go hunting. And as you're kind of making your way out. You notice as you're in the midst of hunting, like you're kind of like tracking this hare or whatever, looking to catch it in this snare. You notice kind of like in the distance that there is you see four humanoid figures, kind of coming like at a parallel to you. So they're walking and they're moving, but their path isn't going to like intersect yours. If you just like don't do anything, right? But you see like four really tall humanoid figures striding through the snow in single file, sort of like paced 10 feet apart, and they're like maybe like 120 feet away from you. Um,
Right. Tall humanoid figures that's
mhm.
walking in single file. Um, would that look like any of the Ragged Men? Like, do they do that?
um, Make a perception check.
Sure.
Okay.
5.
It's hard to tell from this distance. You basically just see like their sort of like outlines. Based on like their height, they could be like Ragged Men. Ragged Men do tend to kind of like run a little bit higher or taller than your average like humans. Um,
Mm,
but it's hard to tell.
okay. Um. Well, looking at like what they're like, do I see like what they're doing? I just seem to be wandering.
They seem to be marching rather purposefully in like a single direction, spaced like evenly apart, um, and you can tell that they're like wielding like weapons, and they're sort of like keeping an eye on their surroundings. It almost looks like maybe they're like hunting or something like that.
Right. I'll keep an eye out on them, but I don't think I will approach them unnecessarily. So
Yeah, so like if you don't like approach them or anything like that, like I said, their path was sort of like parallel to your own, so they
mhm.
just sort of like march by, seemingly without taking notice of you, um,
Yeah,
and continue off like into the out of the distance, and you just sort of like shrug and continue your hunt for the day, and eventually like return at the end of the day to the camp. You see sort of like Hangar there has like started a small fire in your little like hut or whatever. And you bring back your like like a couple of snow hairs or whatever, and begin the
yeah,
process of preparing them.
yeah. While we're doing that, I will also tell him about what I saw earlier. Those four tall figures walking in
Mm.
single file. See if Hangar knows anything about that.
And as you're sort of like describing the situation, he says, "Well," he says, "if this had been a few years ago, I would have assumed that it was hunters from the Bear Clan, but as you know, they have long since vanished from these places." And he says, "No, that must have been Goliaths. Probably some that live on the cairn."
Goliaths at the cairn.
He sort of nods and says, "There is a small clan of them that dwell there. Most of them live further south in the Great Mountains, but there is a small tribe along the shelves of the cairn.
Hmm,
Outcasts, I think."
I see. Well, I suppose that does add up. That Goliath, McKingle, did the halfling Perlu did say that McKingle was there to try and find some legendary Goliath warrior. Perhaps he was looking for that tribe.
Hengar just sort of like shrugs. Says, "I cannot say. I have never interacted with them before. Um, they keep to themselves mostly.
Mm. Yes. I'm not sure if they didn't notice me or if they just didn't care, but they at least made no attempts to approach me, so I saw no reason to approach them.
He sort of nods and says, "Yes, often a cautious point of view is the best one to take in such situations."
Yes, I agree. I say. Um, the helping others on the out here is a good thing, but they didn't seem to be in any sort of trouble, so best to leave them be.
And sorts of nods as you're kind of like in the midst of sort of skinning these hairs and like
Mm.
preparing the meat, sort of putting them on this like rudimentary kind of um, basically like skewer basically over the fire. Um, yeah, so you like basically like eat or whatever, and night begins to fall. Um, as you're doing this, Hangar sort of like looks up and he says, "I think the time is almost upon us. If we are going to investigate that place, we the best so do so. Head out soon."
Yes, done. Get the things we need and let's go.
All right, so you have your meal, gather up your supplies, and head out towards the hill once more. And as you approach, you can see basically the moon like bright and full in the sky. You see basically like in front of it every so often the silhouettes of the ravens kind of like circling overhead, like crossing in front of this moon. Um, Kind of rather ominously looking. And you see once more like these stone structures jutting out of the hill and begin to make your ascent. And at this time, as you sort of like get crest to the top of the hill and once more kind of like enter into the circle, um, you begin to notice like this. There's this chill in the air right again, but this time it's even more severe, like incredibly cold. And you notice like the ravens are sort of like gathering overhead, sort of like swarming in this kind of like cyclone almost it looks like overhead, circling around the moon that you see like bright and full like directly overhead. It's like light casting shadows on the on the thrones. And as this is happening, you notice that there's this sort of strange shimmer in the air, and then one by one, you see these sort of spectral figures begin to appear in the thrones.
Oh, 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 oh
The
shit.
largest one being the one that is situated in the southern throne, and you see they begin to like turn to each other, and they look as though they're miming as if they're talking, but you don't. There's no words, there's no sound or anything, but they appear to be like talking. But the main one, the biggest one, just has his eyes like fixated on you. Um, you can see there are seven of them in total. You see three of them have on what appear to be sort of like fur vests and leather trousers. There are three others that are wearing chainmail from head to toe. And then you see the last one who is in the southern throne, slightly larger than the others, and seems to be wearing a coat of white dragon scales with this magnificent horned helm. And you see there's this sort of like spectral great axe, like a leaning against the throne, and he's just sort of like looking at you. The ravens like circling overhead as his peers, kind of in the other thrones, seem to be like conversing or discussing or arguing, but there's no sound to like no context, right, to tell you like what's going on. But he's just sort of like glaring at you. And Hangar just sort of like looks around and is kind of like backing up a little bit, like kind of on edge, drawing his like weapon. Not
Yeah.
quite sure what to make of the situation. What do you do?
Looking at this this large king that's like, or jarl that likes looking, ghost jarl that's looking down at me, I will speak in giant, and I will say, "Hail!"
All right.
Just
So you do that,
mhm.
um, and the giant kind of like nods to you slowly and begins to like it sort of like pushes out like its right hand barely like lifting a finger kind of towards your direction, like pointing just behind you, and you see this this rune, like this glowing rune, like appears in the air, and the giant like speaks, and you hear this deep, guttural, like booming voice, but you don't understand what's being spoken. It's just this like word of power that rings through the air. And as you turn and like look to where like you feel this like rumbling in the ground, you turn and look to where he's pointing. You see suddenly the ground kind of begins to like burst open at the top of the hill. You see this massive like bony arm just like bursts out of the snow, pulling itself up, and you see sort of emerging from the snow this massive armored giant skeleton wielding a great axe, sheeted
uh,
over with ice.
right. I would like to cast comprehend languages back when I just realized I remember that I had that. All right.
And it is time to roll initiative. All right. You relevant stat blocks, allies, Hangar. Where you at? There you at. Boom. And the Frost Giant Skeleton. Boom. All right. So the skeleton sort of gets the drop on you here,
Yep.
and you notice that as the skeleton begins to appear, the ravens circling overhead, kind of like on either side of the larger throne, kind of begin to break off from the greater maelstrom, and you see as well what appear to be a couple of swarms of ravens also like descending down
Hold it.
towards you.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. So the frost giant skeleton is the first to go. You see it like finishes pulling itself out of the ground, lifting up this hefty axe, and you see um, its eyes. There's like this pinprick glow of like bluish light in them, and it looks towards you. You being the one that sort of called out to the giant, and you see its eyes, like the intensity of the light glows. And I need you to make a Constitution saving throw.
Okay.
All right,
13.
a 13 is a success. So you feel this like cold, like this biting chill wash over you. Um, you succeed, however. So you take half of that. Um, so what's that? 15, 17, and then
17.
halved again because of your resistance. So that would be
Ah,
8
hold on.
points of cold damage.
Yep. I didn't put the minus. I just. There you go.
Set your HP to 8.
Yes.
Classic. And then it is going to stride forward, uh, shaking the ground as it does so.
Is Hangar supposed to be transparent, or is like what is?
Hmm.
Like I can see Alquill's token clearly, but everyone else seems like they have like a kind of a layer above them or
Oh, it's because
something.
of your dark vision.
Ah,
Because it is
it's
night.
like low light.
Yeah, it's low light because the moonlight.
I get it.
Um. All right. Yeah. So that's the skeleton. It goes, makes its freezing stare, and then Hangar. He sort of like lifts his axe, like looking around at this situation, and he says, "I do not know what is going on here, but I know that we must beat this thing."
I don't know where I am. I don't know who I am. All I know is that I must kill.
So he is going to strike at it 3 times.
Yep.
All right. Battle X. 1, 2, 3. The first two hit. The last of it kind of like bounces off of the kind of like icy armor that is around the giant's frame. So he deals 13 and 11. So 24 points of damage total to the skeleton. And then it is your turn, Alquill.
Yep. Take a step forward towards this skeleton, and using my battle axe, Helgrim's Fury, I slash at the skeleton.
Go for it.
15 does not hit. 22, I think
22
hits.
hits, yes.
I shall use a Divine Smite.
Okay.
I am going to use a second level.
Spoiler, it's an undead creature.
So let's see. Here's the 7 slashing, and then it is, what is it, 48. 11 radiant.
Okay, 7 slashing and 11 radiant damage total.
That was a poor roll.
Yeah, it's quite low. The double ones, unfortunate.
Yep.
All right, is that everything?
Yes, I believe I don't have any. Oh wait, I could. Oh wait, the Divine Smite is not a spell cast.
No, yeah.
So I can do Shield of Fate as a bonus action.
Okay. On yourself, or?
Give that is yes. I'm gonna use it on myself.
All right. So after you, then the swarms of ravens begin to descend. One each, basically, at you, and they're sort of like, I'm not gonna move them on you, but they're on you.
Yeah.
They begin flitting around, and they make an attack. So against you, that is a miss, and then against Hangar, that is
a hit.
Hit. So he takes only 3. Wow, that's like what, a 2 and a 1. Nice. Takes 3 points of piercing as these like ravens are like pecking at him and like kind of pulling at bits of his armor and whatnot.
Yep.
All right. Then it is the skeleton's turn. You see now it sort of like lifts its mighty axe and is going to swing it once at you.
All right.
Once at you.
All right.
23.
23 will just hit with the Shield of Fate.
For 17 points of slashing damage.
Yeah, and I will impose disadvantage if it's attacking Hangar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it takes its second swing at Hangar. A 12 still hits, unfortunately. Dealing 28 points of slashing damage to Hangar. Whew. He kind of like gets knocked back by the force of this blow, almost kind of like sliding along the snow-covered hilltop.
Yep.
And that is the end of its turn. Go ahead.
All right.
I think
I keep forgetting the Ven runes like first ability.
No, you don't have to. You automatically pass the con check, right? Because it's only 10. I think you have enough of a bonus to.
Yeah, I have 10. I have 10.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you
So
has to deal.
Minimum I roll 11.
Yeah. It needs to do at least 24 points of damage, basically, to trigger a.
Yeah.
Trigger a save. All right. So that's it. Hangar. The skeleton is definitely a problem. The ravens are annoying, but the skeleton is a problem.
Yeah.
So he's going to go in against the skeleton, seeing that it is the biggest threat here. Hitting all 3 attacks. Nice. So that's 28 plus 6 is 32 points of damage. Basically like chipping off bits of armor and bone, kind of like cutting away this skeleton. But it is still up, still sort of fighting this bluish glow in its eyes. And it's your turn now, Quill.
Yes. So this one is courting quite a bit. Yeah, no, I'm just gonna continue beating it.
Okay.
Miss.
13 won't do it.
Miss.
Neither will a 15, unfortunately.
Huh?
The Ravens are going to continue to sort of just assail the two of you against you.
That hits.
Somehow manages to hit for 4 points of damage. And then
Yep.
against Hengar, they actually miss. He manages to dodge out of the way.
All right.
All right. The skeleton, sort of driven back a little bit by Hangar's onslaught, you see kind of like puts its axe to the side, and again its eyes like glow this bright blue. But instead of gazing at you, it gazes instead at Hangar, and he is going to have to make a con save, which he has a +5 from you.
Oh yeah, does this count as a spell?
It does not.
Okay.
So you give a +5 bonus, right? You have 20
I give a +4.
+4. All right. So he will be doing a 20 + 9. Ooh, he is critically successful. Not that that really changes the outcome. So he succeeds, so he takes half damage. However, because he does not have resistance to cold damage, while he is in the circle, he actually has vulnerability to cold damage. So it comes out in the wash, and he takes the full amount of 35 points of cold damage.
Gee, 28. Jesus.
Then it is his turn.
That would have downed me. I would be down now if I was Angor, but he's
If you were Hangar. Well, you have resistance to cold damage, so
yeah, that's true.
you're in a better situation than he is. Right. He is just going to keep going after this giant skeleton. Still sort of like, obviously he looks pretty hurt at this point. That ice, like basically like frost and ice, is like coating his hair and his beard at this point. But he is going to fight on. No, not the frost giant. The Hangar, please.
Yep.
Swinging, managing to hit twice. Ooh, not doing so hot there.
Nope.
He's unable to finish this creature off. His attacks are becoming slower and kind of like harder, as he's like obviously kind of like lost a lot of like blood from that first hit. Now he's just like chilled to the bone by this freezing, and he's definitely like slowing down. Alquil.
Only how one action sucks. If I can just hit this thing. I feel like hopefully 24.
24 will do it.
I'll Divine Smite,
All
second
right.
level.
So 6 damage from the attack.
And 15 radiant. I keep roll these.
With the extra 15 points of radiant damage as you channel all of your sort of divine fury into this undead creature, you see these sort of cracks of light begin to filter up its bones, starting from kind of like the legs where you're swinging at it, all the way up through its torso, and it just explodes outwards in this shattering of bone splinters from the radiant light.
Yes. All right. So destroying that one, I'll just turn immediately to start like swinging my axe at the ravens.
All right. 19 is a hit, dealing 2 points of slashing damage.
Yep. All right, that's my turn.
Okay. The ravens. They are going to go. Both of them making an attack. One against you, and one against Hangar.
I'll impose disadvantage. Well, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter at this point, yeah. So the one against Hangar deals 7 piercing damage. And then the Frost Giant Skeleton is dead. So then it is Hengar. He is just going to swing now at these ravens. Try to deal with them.
Yep.
First swing, that's a hit for 5. Second swing is a miss, and the third swing, another hit for 8. This one is now below half of its full fighting strength.
All right. I shall green flame. No, wait, they're not within 5 feet of each
Yeah,
other.
they are.
Never mind.
Well, they technically are because they would have to be kind of like on you, right? Too. Well,
Oh,
actually,
okay, yeah.
let me just double check that these guys don't have. Okay, no, they have reach on their attack, so they wouldn't be on you. So they would be
Okay,
where they are.
well, in that case, good. Any cool spells? Shall touch? No, that's a ranged one, isn't it? Yeah, that one's ranged. I'll use my lay on hands on Hangar. So I'll heal him for 35.
Okay.
Make sure he's okay. And that'll be my action.
He had exactly as many hit points as you have.
He had or have?
Had.
Has. He had, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
His maximum is obviously much higher than yours, but yeah.
Yes, of course.
All right. So that's your action. So I guess it's the swarms.
Yep.
One at you. Miss, and then I assume disadvantage on Hangar, half HP. They actually miss.
Yep.
All right. So Hangar is going to try to take out this one. Hit for 7. Still up. Second swing. Hit for 10, and that is enough to cut through the ravens. And then he's going to run over and take his last swing at this one. Another hit, dealing 6 points of damage. And then it's your turn.
It's my turn. I shall swing at the ravens. This actually gonna like drop my shield or like take my axe in like 2 hands, so I don't have the shield anymore.
Okay.
Just 12, I think, is a hit.
Mm-hmm. Just 4 points of damage.
10.
10 is insufficient. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And that'll be it.
They are now exactly at half HP, so they are going to do an attack against you. A half HP attack. Miss.
Misses.
Then Hangar. We'll just swing. Alright, 7. And alright, with the second swing, manages to finish off this swarm. Alright. And as the swarm sort of is killed, you see like there are what appear to be sort of like raven bodies like scattered around from these swarms. You notice like they begin to like dissolve away, almost kind of like into this sort of like spectral dust almost. As does the skeleton, just sort of begins to dissolve away like dust, as if it was never real to begin with.
All right. I can't comprehend languages if I couldn't do that earlier.
Sure.
At this point.
So as this happens, you see the largest of the giants sort of had a his chin kind of like propped onto his hand, and he was like leaning on one of the armrests, looking at you during this fight. And the others had stopped their conversation and were all sort of similarly looking. And as the last of the ravens falls, you begin to hear the 6 giants around begin to make this sort of like intonation in giant, but like slightly different, right? Like it's like an older, more ancient form of giant.
Yeah.
and you have your comprehend languages up. So you understand sort of most of like the intent behind it, and you realize that they it's not so much that they're like saying something. It's more like this kind of like poetic incantation almost, like words of power. Are echoing out from them. So it's
Ah,
more akin to like casting a spell than it is to like actually speaking or
speaking.
saying anything. But you can like understand like the words, right? They're basically it's like this giant poem essentially. But it's
Yeah.
more like casting a spell. And as this happens, you see this giant here um, kind of begins to like slowly like disappear, like fade away, and then there's a heavy like rumbling in the ground, and you notice that this throne here suddenly begins to like very slowly rise into the air. And as it does so, it takes like a few minutes basically to rise to its fullest extent. You see, it rises about like 30 feet up into the air, and at the very base, there is what appears to be an opening that like leads into like a hole in the base of the
Oh
throne.
fuck. Oh, okay. I say, I think we found the entrance to the tomb, Hangar.
And he says, "Found is a bit of a strong term, but it has opened the way to us at least."
Yes. Let us.
And you see, as the incantation finishes and the throne rises, one by one, the other apparitions begin to just sort of disappear as well.
Let us be on your guard, but let us enter and see what we might find.
All right. So you descend down, and it is dark, obviously, down in here. You can see a little bit from the moonlight that's like shining down through, but Hengar is basically kind of like putting a hand up against the wall, like kind of like leading himself
Yeah.
down. Um,
I'll get a torch up and strike it. I think. Oh wait, do I have the light spell? I don't have the light spell. Uh,
no, why would you have that?
I'll strike a torch. Yeah, because I didn't take the light spell because I have dark vision. So um,
Mm-hmm.
so I'll strike a torch.
All right. So you strike a torch, illuminating the room, and you can see basically as you get down to the bottom of this staircase that leads deeper into the underground rock. Um, it has this big, like 25-foot ceiling, and it's this huge room, right? To your left, as you enter the dark hall, you see this closed stone double door that has no handles or hinges to the side, and on your right, you see what appears to be like a curved tunnel that is blocked by an iron gate that has 1 foot square gaps between its horizontal and vertical bars. The iron hinges on the northern side of the gate indicate that it swings sort of inward. Situated in shallow alcoves at the far end of this hall, you see 6 braziers, each one in the shape of a 4 foot tall, 2 foot wide stone urn, held snugly atop a 5 foot high clawed basalt pedestal. Carved into each urn is a rune. Above the alcoves looms a stone archway into which some words are inscribed. And as you get a little bit closer, you could read the words. They're inscribed in giant. You have to rely a little bit on your comprehend languages to understand the full extent of what they say, because there's some sort of like ancient runes mixed in addition to like the dwarvish alphabet. And
Yeah.
it says, "Snatch a scale from a sleeping worm. Against the blowing wind, stand firm. Climb a mountain with a stone in your shoe. On little feet, death comes for you. Be the arrow that starts the war. Let life's blood fall till it falls no more."
Do you have that written down or?
I can type it.
Okay.
It's gonna take a while. I don't have it like copy pastable.
Yeah, I started typing it, but I couldn't follow it all while typing.
The blowing wind. Stand firm. Climb a mountain with a pebble. With a stone. Sorry. A stone in your shoe. On little feet, death be the arrow that starts the war. The war. Let life's blood fall till it falls no more.
Snatch a scale from a sleeping worm. Against blowing wind, stand firm. Climb a mountain, a stone, shoot. Sweet. Stop. I'll let life's blood fall till it fails no.
And since you have your comprehend languages up, you can see
Yeah.
that there are runes like inscribed on the urns. So obviously with your spell, if you walk up and like touch them, you can understand like the meaning of them. They aren't part
Yeah.
of the dwarvish alphabet. They look more like the old giant runes that you have seen before. These sort of like ancient, magical filled runes carved onto the urns. And you can see that kind of from left to right. There are 6 in total. I'll move the image over here just so you can see them all here.
Yeah.
Post that there. So those are the runes you see. You see but they go from left to right. So the first one is the Worm rune, otherwise known as Dragon.
Yeah.
You see the Vind rune, which is wind. The Fjell rune, or mountain. Dod, or death. Krieg, war, and the Leaf,
Yeah.
life runes.
Leave, yes. All right. Fair. Cool.
Failed. Yeah, and they look like, just looking at the urns, they look as though they're sort of like braziers.
They look at the brace, so these urns
Yeah.
have the braces, and then there was just that poem.
Well, it looks like
Uh
the urns are supposed to be like the braziers, basically. It looks like
ah
they like are supposed to be like a light or something. But you see no like evident signs of like fuel or like a way to light them. And then the poem is sort of like carved on an archway like above. Actually, I think it's above
okay.
here.
So I can't so even if I use my torch, there's no
Yeah, there's nothing to like light inside. There's no like oil or wood or anything like that.
all right, what if I use the oil that I have? Um could I fill, like, I have 10 bottles of oil.
Yeah. You can certainly try.
All right. I'll try and light the worm one first.
All right. So you proceed over to this one over here.
It's that one.
Yeah. And I guess you like pour some of the oil in. They're like deep like
Yep.
basins, so you like pour some of the oil in. It like barely fills it, right? Because these are like giant sized urns. But you
Yeah.
like pour some of the oil in and kind of like light it. And for a moment, there's like a flickering flame inside. But it doesn't last very long. It seems to like burn through the oil like unnaturally quickly, and like the flame snuffs out.
Okay. I'm gonna say that took one of my bottles, probably.
Yeah.
All right. Right. Seems to be a puzzle, I say to Hangar. Like, I'll repeat like the poem, and I'll inform him, like, point out which rune is which.
Hmm.
So I'm guessing then this is worm. This was wind. This was fjell. This is död. This is what is it called? Krieg. And this is leave.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I didn't think it would be just that easy. Against blowing wind, stand firm. Snatch a scale from a sleeping worm. There's no scale or anything I can see, like anything that might look like a scale.
I know, yeah. Looking around the room, like it's pretty empty. The only things you see basically, you see this like locked iron gate, where the poem is written across it, and then there's like this set of stone doors up here that doesn't have like hinges or a handle or anything like that. It's kind of like iced over. But it
Oh,
also
there's
doesn't seem to be like there's no sign of like a locking mechanism either. It's just like these big heavy stone doors.
there's several of them. Okay. Or is it just like a double door?
It's a double door. Yeah, it's like a
All
big
right.
double door.
I'll try and see if I can get it open. It's just like
Okay.
this. There might be something within here. I think the puzzle will open the grates.
All right, go ahead and make an athletics check. Hangar will also like assist you, kind of lending his weight.
Yep. 21.
That is sufficient to like crack through the ice and move these heavy stone doors out of the way. You push them open. You see, it opens into another room.
Ah.
Um, you can see that in this room, there is a chamber that has four large wooden chests with iron fittings and built-in locks. Hanging from a hook in the middle of the ceiling, you see this 1 foot diameter iron ring with four 1 foot long iron keys and a single 1 foot long silver key dangling from it. It's approximately like 25 feet basically up in the air, like in the middle of the ceiling up here.
Uh-huh. And then there's like, are these chests?
Yeah, so there's four chests. Each one looks to be about 10 feet long and 5 feet wide and 6 feet tall, with these half barrel shaped lids. They're basically like giant chests essentially.
Yeah. Okay, so there's the a key that's up in the air there.
Yeah, there's like a ring of keys basically dangling from a hook on the middle of the ceiling, and they're like big. They're like 1 foot long keys,
Uh-huh.
and there are five of them in total.
Um. Yeah, I'm going to use uh do I see any like does it seem like it would be possible for me to try and climb up there? Uh
Um, Well, the wall, like, it's in the middle of the ceiling, so there's not really, like, a good way to climb. But, like, theoretically, like, if you kind of, like, if you could move the chests and, like, pile them up, you could, like, climb up on the chests, maybe. They look, like,
right.
insanely heavy, but between the two of you, you might be able to, like, move them.
Is a how big is the movable rod?
It's only, like a little, like, 1 foot long rod, I think.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think you need at least two of them to do the ladder thing. I
Yeah.
don't think one of them's really gonna cut it. Although, I mean, if you put it like up, you could like pull yourself and like stand on it, and maybe just maybe be able to like barely reach. Like, how tall are you?
Let's see. What does it say? He is 6 foot 4.
Okay, so you could probably put it about like 9 feet up in the air at like full thing. Like, pull yourself up. Um, yeah, you'd still be a little bit short. Maybe if like Hengar gave you a boost, you could like
Yeah.
click it into the air and like try to pull yourself up. It would be an ordeal, but you can maybe reach it with the help of the rod.
All right. I'll try and do that.
Okay, so you'll call over to like Hengar basically to like
Yes.
give you like a boost. He
Yeah.
sort of lifts you up as best as he can. Uh, and I assume, yeah, you use your action like reaching up as high as
Yes.
you can. So
Reaching heights over.
yeah,
I'll.
he's about like 6'2". You're like 6 foot. You can reach another three beyond that. So that would put you 15 feet up, and you like pull yourself up. Um, so I think you could basically like just barely like touch the bottom of these keys. Maybe like you can start swinging at it. I guess make an athletics check
All right.
as you try to like leap and kind of like pull the keys off. Okay.
14.
So I think with a 14, you sort of like make a leap for the keys, like grabbing onto it, trying to like pull them off of the hook, but it doesn't quite. You don't like have quite enough momentum to like swing them off fully. So you see they almost get to the edge and then like kind of begin to slide back, and you're now basically like you grab onto like one of the keys and you're now like dangling from the ring of keys like up in the air.
All right. I'll climb up the key, up to like the hook, and try and like
All right.
if I can get on the hook and push it
Make
off.
yeah, make another athletics check. All right.
25.
With 25, you're able to sort of pull yourself up onto the key and like climb up it to get onto the hook to where you can eventually sort of like lift it off. The ring of keys is heavy,
Yeah.
but not so heavy that you can't sort of like slide it off and like drop it to the ground basically.
Yes. All right.
So yeah, it clatters to the ground. This sort of like solid metallic noise like echoing through the stone chambers.
Okay. Then after it's pushed down, I will try and like kind of lower myself, like drop myself onto the rod, and then like hang from the rod and click so that it
Okay.
falls.
All right. I'll say make one last athletics check basically to try to like fall and like lower yourself and like fall onto the rod and kind of like all right, yeah. Easily. You sort of
Ah,
like you swing down basically kind of like grabbing onto the rod, deactivating it and like falling basically the rest of the way. You don't fall far enough to take any damage in the process. You manage to
good, good, good.
swing and like kind of like catch your momentum, like do like a roll at the edge of it.
Yep. Once I'm down, I'll look at the keys and says,
Hmm.
"Well, I imagine these keys are for a chest."
And he sort of nods and says, "That is an astute observation." He says, "But I see 4 chests and 5 keys, although one looks
Yes.
strangely different than the others."
Um, Perhaps it's for something else. Um, or perhaps it's a master key. Say,
He sort of shrugs.
I'm not an expert in these matters, but let's just try and see if we can get any of these keys to work.
Sure. So I guess you pick up the ring of keys and
Mm-hmm.
head towards one of the chests.
Yep.
All right, so you like you like fiddle around basically with the keys, and eventually find that one of the simple sort of steel keys or iron keys fits into this lock and does in fact like unlock it.
All right. Push open the lid.
The lid is quite heavy, but you are able to push it open.
Mm-hmm.
And as it like falls open, you see, looking deep inside, there's this big sort of like I said, like 10 foot long, 5 foot wide, 6 foot deep chest, and there's but a single item inside. This small, rather fancily crafted looking arrow. It doesn't. It looks to be like a normal sized arrow, and it is definitely not of giant make. It looks like far too like fancy and pretentious to have been made by giants.
Uh-huh. Well, says, right, I'll take the arrow and like
Hmm.
climb out and says like, seems we found the arrow. I imagine the other chests will contain similar the things needed uh, for the puzzle.
Yeah, so I assume you go and open each chest in turn.
Yeah.
So the next chest here, you see inside what appears to be the carcass of a dead snowy owl that is like frozen stiff. Um, in the third chest, you see a single gleaming white dragon scale. And in the final
Yeah.
chest, you see what appears to be this fist-sized stone.
All right. Stone. Ba-bum. Let's see, so that's scale. Stone. That's a corpse. And that's an arrow. Let lifeblood fall till falls no more. Against the blowing wind stand firm. Hmm. Well, I say to Hangar, like, well, we have at least four things that are connected to the puzzle, say. So I'm uncertain about the phrase of against the blowing wind stand firm and let life's blood fall till it falls no more. And then there is the fact that there's a fifth key to use. I'll take a moment to just like look around the room to make sure that I'm not
Sure.
missing anything.
Yeah, you spend like a few minutes looking around the room and find nothing else of interest.
All right. Then I'll head back to the other room.
Okay.
The grates here, they were closed. There's like
Yeah, they're
there's no
closed.
there's no lock.
They're closed. There's no like obvious lock or anything like that. The grate is closed. It doesn't like budge when you try to like move at it, and the bars are too close together for you to be able to squeeze through.
Yeah. All right. Then I shall return over to here, and I shall take the silver dragon or white dragon. I mean white dragon scale. And I will put it into the urn.
Yeah, so as you drop the white dragon scale into the urn, there's like a moment as you like step back where at first you think as though like nothing has happened, and then suddenly this like roaring like magical flame sort of bursts from within. This sort of like whitish blue color filling the urn and lighting it.
Oh, excellent. Uh, I shall look towards like walk over to the wind urn. Do I feel like any sort of like breeze or anything?
No, it's relatively still. You're deep underground. Um,
Yeah. Against the blowing wind, stand firm. Uh, you stand. I'm not. I'm just like I'm uncertain if like we need to do it in the specific order.
yeah, Hangar just sort of shrugs and says, I am hate to say that I am not quite exactly familiar with these sorts of things. They do not come up often in our travels.
Yes, it's something I have to had to grow a bit more familiar with as of late. Just, um, can I push the urn over?
No, it's like far, far too heavy, and is like
Okay.
attached to the pedestal.
Against blowing wind, stand firm. Stand, stand firm. I'll put the movable rod into the urn and click it.
Sure. Yeah, you do so. Like you put it into the urn and like click it into place, like locking it in, pulling your hand back. Nothing.
Nothing. Okay. Well, that didn't seem to help. Mm, I'll unclick it, get it back.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm just gonna experiment, and I'm gonna walk over to the mountain one, and
Okay.
I'm gonna drop the stone in.
All right. Yeah. So as you walk over to that one, you lift up this. It's like a big stone, right? It's like the size of your fist.
Yeah,
So you lift up this big stone, drop it in, and it makes like a tunk, 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 as it settles into the bottom, and then you step back, and this like sort of grayish white flame appears.
the other one was blue, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
was that also one?
It's like a bluish
Okay,
white. This one's like a grayish white.
okay. I shall step over to this one,
Okay.
and I will. This was the on little feet. Death comes for you. I'll drop the owl corpse.
Okay. Similarly, as you drop the corpse into this one, this sort of like blackish white flame emerges.
Okay, and then here on Death Rune. No, not Death Rune. Arrow. The War Krieg.
Mm-hmm.
I will drop the arrow.
Okay. Dropping the arrow summons forth a sort of blazing red flame.
Okay. Here at the leave, I'll put my hand forward and I'll cut it so that like blood will drop into it.
Okay. So as you put your hand up, you sort of cut across the palm of your hand, dripping blood. One drop, two drop, three drops of blood splash into the urn, and you begin to feel like a warmth, and you like step back, and you see this sort of like vibrant, like greenish flame appears.
Okay. Uh, Lastly, it's the wind. Against the blowing wind, stand firm. Stand. Stando. Uh, I'll try blowing into the urn.
Okay. So you pull yourself up and like try your best to like blow into this urn, um,
Uh,
and as you do so, you see like uh, something begins to like move around inside the brazier, and then this like bright flame shoots out from within.
oh shit. No solution. Okay. I'll take a step back. A little bit surprised. I like. Okay, all the flames seems to be up and running. I look towards the door, like the gate, or like did anything happen?
The gate hasn't like moved or anything like that. So
Oh,
you can see, but it's like a hinged gate, right? Like, it swings like,
oh, right.
yeah. It's not like a
I sh
portcullis.
yes, I shall move up to the gate and try and open it.
Hmm. So as you like push on the gate this time, you can see it does in fact swing inwards now with
Okay.
ease.
All right. Perfect. With that, I shall head inside.
Okay. So as you head inside, you see at the end of this curved hallway, there is a large set of heavy stone doors, much like the ones that led into the chest room.
All right. So I'm seeing this as like, Hangar, give me a hand. We'll open this again.
Sort of nods and yeah, gives you a hand. Go ahead and make an athletics check.
Yep.
All right. Easily able to push open the heavy stone doors. And you see it opens up into a chamber. The sole occupant, which you see is a large oaken chest with silver fittings standing against the wall directly opposite of the double doors. There is a golden key sticking out of the chest's built-in lock. You can also see that. Let me see here. Ba, 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 ba. Nope. Yeah, that's all you see.
All right. I do not trust the golden key, so I'll try and remove the golden key and put in the fifth key.
Yeah. So the golden key comes out easily, and you see it's like this
Yep.
like 1 foot long like golden key.
Yep. I'll stick in the fifth key and try to open the chest
Okay.
with that.
Yeah, so you stick in the golden or the silver key rather,
Yeah.
and as it turns, there's a satisfying sort of click as the chest unlocks.
Right. I walk up to the chest and I'll push it open.
All right. So as you do so, the lid flits open, and looking inside, you can see there is a wooden brace at the bottom with this large horn sort of held inside of it that has carvings around the outside of it that appear to be sort of in like they're the giant runes essentially. Um, Old kind of like the old like magical kind rather than the like written word kind.
Ah.
And you also see there are six battle axes sort of scattered around the horn.
Okay.
Six sort of like
Uh,
large battle axes.
I'll reach down for the horn
Okay.
and like pick it up.
So it's pretty heavy, but you can still lift it. Um,
Yeah.
and as you pick it up, like you feel this sort of like sensation like on the back of your hand and arm, like your hair kind of like standing on edge as you like place your hand on this, lifting it up. And as you pull it out, of the out of the holder. Essentially, you see that the battle axes scattered around it begin to sort of like clatter and then spring into the air.
Of course. I was a little bit weird. There was like 6 battle axes there. Right. Right, of course. Shit, seems like we have a problem.
And they
Alquill
strike.
should have known better. Taken by surprise.
Yes. So the battle axes, not swords, battle axes, swing from, fly from within and strike.
Yeah. Here's the pendulum swing for my all the nat 20 like athletics checks.
Yeah. The good old Nat 1 initiative.
Yep.
Classic. You are sort of, not literally, but sort of taken by surprise as these axes fly out
Yep.
and kind of begin to like surround the
So,
both of you.
according to the gavel of the Venrune, at the start of every combat, attack rolls against you have disadvantage before you start your first round.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yep.
They swing out, striking, and these three at you all have disadvantage.
Yep.
I don't think they have any modifiers. Yeah, no, so they just swing. Swing. Oop, wrong. The first one misses you. Changes setting. Bam. Then the second also misses, and the third also misses. Good
All
thing for
right.
that. Good thing for that disadvantage.
Yes. I'll impose disadvantage on the first one that'll attack that attacks Hangar.
All right. Disadvantage on the first one. Misses, and then the other two hit and miss. So he takes 9 points of slashing damage. Then it is his turn. He just sort of says, "Ugh, to think that I would see the day when weapons were coming and attacking me of their own will."
This is quite normal for me. I'm afraid to say.
Swings, hits one, almost shatters it in one blow. It seems like these battle axes are rather old and somewhat flimsy. So yeah, with the second swing, he shatters one of them, sends it scattering to the ground. And then he swings at the last one, and misses.
Right.
Then it's your turn.
Yep. I have an adamantine battle axe. I don't know if that does anything. But I will swing my battle axe at the sword. I will do a green flame blade as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, 18.
Yes. So, 18. The hell was it that adamantine actually did again? I feel like it did.
I know
something.
it's adamantine armor makes you immune to crit. I don't know if adamantine
I think it was
weapons.
Yeah, it's like a thing they added in Xanathar's Guard. Let me double check because it might actually it might actually matter. I have a vague idea what it does. I think I remember, but I can't remember if it
I feel like it does something towards constructs, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. And the question is, where the frick is it?
I should be.
Here we go. Adamantine weapons. Blah, blah, blah. It's an object. The attack is a critical hit. Okay. All right. Yeah. So it won't. It doesn't have any extra effect against creatures that are constructs. It has an extra effect against objects.
Against objects,
yeah.
yes.
These are creatures technically, having
Yeah.
been animated.
So it's for sundering. Good to
Mhm.
know. But yeah, so I deal.
That's a hit. Yeah,
It's
18 is a hit. Yeah.
Yeah, so 6 slashing damage.
You just attacking the
and
one directly above you, or which one?
Yeah, the one directly above me,
Okay.
and then firing off towards the other one. So, and then it adds an additional 4 fire damage, and then to the one to the left, 12 fire
Ooh,
damage.
nice. Okay. Yeah, the flames bursting over to the second one, almost kind of like melting it away entirely. Not quite, but dealing a substantial amount of damage. Is that all?
Yes.
Okay. These swords swing against you then. A one,
Yep.
two, three. None of them managed to hit. Then the two against Hangar. I assume you're giving one.
One with
Yeah,
disadvantage.
disadvantage. So that one misses. And then the second one also misses. Hangar, in the meanwhile, swing. Okay, he hits with all three. First one and second one destroy the first sword. And then the third
Alright.
one almost destroys the last one. But not quite.
Alright.
It is your turn.
Yeah, was the middle one destroyed now, or?
No, it was. You
No.
just dealt a hefty amount of damage to it with the flames.
Alright. I shall swing at the same one I did for earlier, doing another green flame blade.
Okay.
13, I don't think that hits.
13, unfortunately, is not going to hit.
Alright, that's it.
All right, these swords. 1, 2, 3 at you. All misses, and then disadvantage misses. Hangar. Hangar. Swings and kills because it has 1 hit point. And he's going to come over here. Hit and hit. Alright, destroys this one. Well.
Alright. Green flame blades. Attacking the top one, shooting over to the second.
20 is a hit.
Fire 8 fire damage to the top one.
And that will destroy that.
5 to the one.
And 5 is just enough.
Perfect.
Melt that one. And they all clatter to the ground, sort of chipped, destroyed, and burned.
Yep. Right. I hope that will be the last, says. Well, I think we got what we came for. I say, look, holding up the horn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is like big. Like you have to hold it in like 2 hands, right? Like this big,
Yeah.
huge like horn, and it has like a it has like a hole on one end. Well, it has holes on both ends, but it has like a like a big open end, and then like a hole on the other end to like blow into. It looks like a war horn or something of the likes.
Yeah. Says, I think this is what Bilrock wanted me to find. Says, don't think there's gonna be anything else here.
And he nods and says, good, then let us leave this place. I do not
Yes.
do not have any wish to linger here ever long and find ourselves trapped.
Yes, exactly. So let's go back to the camp.
All right. So I assume you make your way kind of back out the the exit, and
Yes.
I think basically as you are coming out, exiting from the base of the throne once more, kind of into the open moonlit night, you hear basically like these kind of like rumbling footsteps, and you see basically just barely like cresting the other side of the hill, like between these 2 thrones, this massive blue-skinned creature in sort of ragged leather armor, dragging behind them. Not a great axe, but you see what looks like a massive anvil, sort of like attached to a chain. That is like dragging through the snow behind them, and as they sort of like you see them basically as they're like cresting the top of the hill, and I think basically as you see this, that is where we shall end things off for this time.
Oh shit.
And so we shall hopefully be back next week, and we shall see where things go from then.
Giant. An actual giant, not a dead one.
So, thank you for joining me again this week, and
Yes, thank you for running.
hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you all next week. Until then.
Yes, it was